Welcome back to the show, to episode 457. Today, I'm really excited because I have my dear friend Louise Clarke here with me. And she is a parent coach and a mindfulness expert and a mom of a house full of teenagers. So, Louise has a lot to share with us, and I'm so glad she's here. Hi, Louise.
Hi, Erin. Thank you for having me on your show. It's great to be here again.
Oh, awesome. Yes, you're a repeat guest. So,
Frequent flyer points.
yeah, there you go. So, you're also going to be speaking at our conference coming up in April, Revolutionizing Parenthood, and you're going to be talking about raising teenagers. So, what can you say about raising teenagers these days? Kids these days. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah, kids these days, they have no respect. They're always on their phones. What can we do about it? They don't listen to me, and I'm just a nag and I yell. And quite frankly, I'm a bit overwhelmed, frustrated, and I don't know what to do. Is a very common theme that we face.
Yes.
The teenagers, I mean, just because you and I do what we do doesn't get us off scot-free to facing the typical teenage behaviors.
Mhm.
And there is nothing like a teenager to trigger us. If we thought we were remotely triggered by a toddler, then it's a whole new level when the teenagers arrive on the scene. And, they can trigger us like nothing else has ever triggered us in our lives. And they take us to a place where we don't know what to do. We're ready to pull our hair out. And they're standing there with this kind of sassy little attitude going, whatever, mom. And you just want to kill them, quite frankly. There's times where you just are at a loss for words, at a loss for actions. You're feeling overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And, just know if you're feeling this, you're not alone. I feel it. I'm sure you feel it too.
Mhm.
And, we can read the books and listen to audios and be armed with knowledge, which is great. It's better to have some knowledge than have none. But at the end of the day, that knowledge, it's hard to put that knowledge into action when you are faced with a sassy teenager or a super emotional teenager or an impulsive teenager, or they've made a really stupid decision or choice about something.
Mhm.
And the message I portray and in all my work is that really the only thing we can do is control ourselves.
Mm.
That is so
Amen.
hard, so hard. If I, I often say to my clients, if I could get fairy dust, magic fairy dust, and just sprinkle it over myself first, because I'll be selfish and have the dose myself, then I'll give you Aaron, and then everyone else, it would be great, but we can't do that.
Mm-mm.
So we have to look at how are we going to do it, and the how is how are you going to make some changes in the way you show up, because
Mhm.
reacting to them, taking whatever they say and do personally, being
Mhm.
worried about what people might think of us as a result of them, or what people might think of them as a result of the poor decision they might have made. We worry about all these things and we take it all personally, and we see it as a reflection of our capacity to be a really good mom or parent. And it's incredibly difficult. And until we can separate, I always say, the deed from the doer, the behavior from the child, and see that, we love our children unconditionally, no matter what they do, but yet when they do something that goes against anything in our values or what we've hoped they wouldn't do, we become triggered. And when we become triggered, we react, and we get caught in this reactive cycle. And I think that is the bane of the parents of teenagers' lives, is being caught in reactivity. And we can't look at them, all of Dr. Shefali's work that I know you do, and I'm a huge fan of and proponent of. We can't look at them and make them fix their reactivity, because half the problem is they will react. They're teenagers. They're wired to react. They can't not react. So the only thing we can do is try and not react ourselves. That is key, and that is gold, and that is the hardest thing to do.
The most important and the hardest thing.
Yeah, it's vital, and yet it's the hardest thing to do because
I also read an article this week, and it was written by a mom of a teenager or teenagers. And I thought it was so interesting because she talked about how when you see someone at the grocery store and you say, "Oh, how's life?" or "How's Johnny?" and you might say, "Oh yeah, Johnny's team is winning," or "Johnny got accepted to this university," or "Johnny made the honor roll," or whatever we're saying about Johnny, who's a teenager. That's only showing one little sliver of Johnny's life. But because they're teenagers, they have a strong opinion about how much they want us to share or not share with other people. When they are little, we can say, "Oh, life is great. Johnny just got potty trained. Yay!" But our teenagers suddenly aren't going to want us saying, "Well, Johnny had an absolute meltdown yesterday," or "I found a bottle of beer in Johnny's backpack," or "Johnny is experimenting with drugs," or "Johnny's failing a class right now." So suddenly we can't even really reach out to our support networks as easily as we did when they were little
Mhm.
because we can't we would never say to about our good friend, "Oh yeah, Marie, she's having marital problems right now." That's
Mhm.
confidential,
Mhm.
and we need to respect the confidence of our children as well, especially when they become teenagers.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then our
absolutely.
support system, we're kind of cut off from them because we can't share the
That's a,
information.
that's a very valid point. Did you put that on your page? I'd love to go and have a look at it. Did you
I
share
am
it?
going to put it on my
You haven't
page, so
yet.
you will
Okay,
be able to
I'd
see the
love to
link
read
of
it
it.
because it's a
And
huge piece. It's a huge piece, and then the shame
huge.
that we can feel as a
Yes.
result of what they've done. The stakes are higher now. We don't want to be going around saying, "Oh yeah, my kid vapes." We
Mhm.
don't want to do it because we're worried about, oh, she's a parent coach and her kid vapes. Actually, my kids, I know they've tried. I don't believe they vape, but I could be surprised. Tomorrow I could find out that my 14-year-old has been vaping for 2 years. I have no
You never
idea.
know.
You
Right.
never know. Now, I can say, I was pretty, when I found out, and this story, and before I share it, I will share that he's okay for me to share this with you.
Mhm.
But, if
Very
he'd said
important.
no, it is, because if he'd said, don't tell anyone, mum, I wouldn't
Couldn't.
have.
Right.
But at the same time, and me not being able to tell anyone, it made it very isolating for me. I felt like I was alone. But the beauty of me sharing this with you as a parent coach is you will, for the listeners, you will realize that the shit hits the fan in my house. And you're all probably going, what did he do? And when I tell you, you'll probably go, really? Just that? He spray painted a fence one night when he'd had a couple of beers. Age 16.
Yikes.
Yikes. Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
And, he was mortified that he'd done it. He wished he could have turned back time and not done it. Is he a good kid? Yeah. Is he a respectful kid? Yes. But he'd had a couple of beers, there are a whole load of friends. He didn't have, I'm not making any excuses, but he didn't have the spray paint. Some girl had the spray paint in her backpack, a nice can of pink spray paint. So the judgment in me went, really? She sounds nice. I took that back. She's probably a very nice girl. But you see I share that because that was the trigger in me. I was trying to go, oh, she sounds like a nice girl. She's probably a very nice girl. She made a mistake.
She made a
So
bad choice.
yeah, so she brought out the can, and there were 2 or 3 boys that thought, well, that'll be fun. I've
Mm.
always wanted to go with something, and he took his turn.
Mhm.
So, we fixed it. He fixed it. He owned up. He fessed up. The funny thing is, wind the clock forward 3 years ago, and it was the night before we were moving house to the neighborhood where he spray painted the fence. That was even better. It was a real double whammy, triple whammy. So wind the clock forward. My husband and I had to go and speak to the people of the house whose fence had been spray painted. there were two houses involved, and one was owned by a very, very stern Russian man with a pit bull. So they had to sort it out. But the interesting thing is, he said he was going to a party last week. He's 19 now, and I said, "Oh, where is it?" And he told me. I said, "Is that not the house where you were at the party where you spray painted the fence?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "The mother will let you in." And he said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Mum, actually, she's spoken to me about it, and she told me she thinks I'm a very responsible, respectful guy." And I went, "Right." And he said, "Mum, she told me that both the homeowners of the fences said there was only one guy out of all of them that they thought was respectful and decent, the one guy that looked them straight in the eye, the one guy that owned it, the one guy that didn't look at his feet while he was speaking, and that was my son." Now, it's nothing to do with me. Yes, I mean, yes, I've co-created what's in him. But I'm not going to sit here and take the medal and go, "Oh, my son was so good." No, he chose to be like that in that situation. He stepped up to the plate. And so, it all resolved. And
Mhm.
he's still, this mum thinks he's great. I'm like, well, that's great.
Well, there's so many elements to to that story,
Which is
actually.
why I share it. And he's okay with me sharing it because he went, we all do things like this. And one day he'll tell his kids, and his kids will think it's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Then tell us again the night you sprayed painted the fence. And I will, as a mum, as his parent, I have to say, they spray painted 10 8-foot panels of a fence. You know
With
those big pre
with one can of spray paint? That was like the never-ending can.
Unfortunately, yes. So there
Oh
were
my
10
gosh.
panels of a very old rickety fence that actually needed repairing and
Mm.
replacing. He did one squiggle. I mean, actually, when he told me, I said, "You didn't write penis or tits or boobs or something on it. You didn't draw the penis and the boobs." And he went, "No, Mum." I said, "What did you draw?" He goes, "I just did a squiggle." I said, "Well, that's good."
Phew.
I was like, I got off a bit scot-free. But so he actually was responsible for a very small piece of it. But he took responsibility for all of it.
Wow.
He didn't take responsibility for all of it, but he really did. I think he actually, it was one moment where he excelled himself in terms of how he handled it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I'm sure when you first found out about it, you were likely highly triggered, embarrassed, worried, fearful. Oh my gosh, what are these people going to think? We're moving into the neighborhood. They're going to think we're the crazy people on the block. And
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
you were flooded with all of those
I was,
emotions and thoughts.
and I didn't raise my voice to him once. I looked at him and I went, "Really?" And he went, "Mom, I know, it's going to cost us a lot of money." I think it cost them like $150 each. There were four of them. Cost them about $600 to make it good,
Mm,
as well as 2 days. Like it took them 2 days to repaint the entire fence. And may I add, the fence looks a lot better now than it did because it was really not in great shape. It's not the point. But they paid for it in time, in money, in everything. But I didn't react. I did not get angry with him. I just said to him, I said, "This is not great." And he goes, "Mom, I know." And I knew he knew.
yeah,
So
he
I didn't
knows.
have to. That's where I could spare the lecture. There was no point me lecturing him at this stage. He was down. His wound was open. He was being vulnerable. So what was I going to do? Pour salt in his wound and make it even worse for him? I
Right.
didn't think I needed to do that. So I said, "What do you need to do?" He said, "Well, I need to get down there because we're going to start painting it tonight." And I said, "Okay, I'll take you down." So I drive him down. And bear in mind, we're moving house the next day. We are not sleeping in our house that night, and it's 4:30 p.m. And I've got the kids farmed off to someone else's homes. We're going to stay with a friend, and I'm down to the ensuite. I'm down to our bathroom, and I'm packing it. And this comes up, says, "Okay, let's jump in the car. I'll take you down there." So we get down there, and he goes, you can let me out here." And I said, "Well, where is it?" And he goes, "It's round the corner." I said, "Oh no." I said, "You need to take me to the fence." And he goes, "Mom," I said, "I need to see the fence." I drove by and I went, "Gosh, you did quite a few panels here, didn't you?" I said, which one did you do? And he showed me, and I said, mm-hmm. And so I saw the fence, and there was one parent there, and I spoke to that parent, and I left. I didn't wait. I didn't go and speak to the homeowners at that stage. So we left, and 2 hours later he called us, and I said, "Do you want us to come down?" And he said, "I don't know." And I said, "You know what? I think we'll come down. We'll just come and check on things." And Sam and I went, and we knocked on the one guy's door, and he came out. We realized we knew them. Oh, it was like, anyway, it was one of those
Oh, jeez.
moments, but the guy was really decent. He was a really nice man. He goes, "I've got kids. I've had a teenager. He's no longer a teenager. He passed the test." He said, "They do silly things." But he
Mhm.
said, "The good thing is here is your boy, that one, is the only one that actually, in my books, did what I would want my kids to do."
Mm.
So it was a highly triggering moment for me. But I didn't allow myself to get reactive because I knew it wasn't going to do any good. I
Mhm.
knew it was not going to teach him any more lessons than he'd already learned.
Mhm.
I knew I had to lead him and guide him and support him in the decisions he was going to have to make it good.
Absolutely. What a great story. And we can think of all the different not so productive ways that story could have gone.
Oh
You
yeah,
could have
yeah,
screamed and yelled. You could have punished him for the rest of his life, taken away his
exactly.
phone.
He said, "Are you going to ground me?" And I said, "What good grounding going to do you? What good is grounding going to do you? You could take a can of spray paint to school tomorrow and spray paint the sheds at the back of the school."
Yeah,
You
grounding him for life doesn't really address
know,
it's not a natural result of what he did.
and if I was to ground him, how long do I ground him? Does 2 groundings mean they don't spray paint ever again?
Yeah, a day, a week, a month, a year.
You can see the futility in grounding.
It's so silly. But
Had
that's what
he learned?
we're naturally wanting to go to as parents if we don't know another way.
Yeah, yeah. Did he learn what he needed to learn? I believe he did. Do I believe he'll ever spray paint anything again?
Yeah,
No.
pretty sure not.
I can't say definitely not.
Well, the other thing though is with the outcome and the way you handled the situation, if you had been more harsh and reactive and triggered and, like I said, taken away the phone, grounded him forever, whatever other things you could have thrown at him in your reactive desire to punish him for his poor choice, he could have come out of that situation where the lesson is overshadowed or not even
Totally.
realized, and rather his focus is on resenting you for making his life so miserable.
And also, he might not tell me next time.
Exactly.
He came and told me. Was it
Right.
information I was thrilled to hear?
Mhm.
No. But was I happy he told me? Yeah.
Mhm.
And he told me for a reason because he felt safe sharing it.
Right. And this was a bad decision that he made, a poor decision that he made.
Very, 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 very poor Aaron.
But in the future, hopefully not, but it's always possible with their yet fully developed brains, not quite fully developed brains, that they could have he could have a poor lapse in judgment. He could do something that's 10 times more serious than painting a fence, which is bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
But if you as a parent squash him and react and crush him over spray painting a fence and he doesn't want to come to you if he does something more serious, then he doesn't have the guidance he needs when it's really important. So
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to make sure that we're tempering our reactions to them
Mm-hmm.
so that we do create that safe space where they can feel comfortable coming to us when they screw up, because they all screw up some way or another
Oh
to
yeah.
some degree, some more than others, some more significant than others, but they
Yeah.
all make poor decisions at times.
Mm-hmm.
So creating that space, I think, is beautiful because then he feels like he's got a safe person or safe people, his parents, to come to and say, "Oh, I really
Absolutely.
blew it this time."
Absolutely. And that's important for me. So yeah, anyway, I share that. We digressed a bit and went on a bit there, but I share it because it kind of puts a lot of the things we have to do as parents of teenagers into context.
It's a great example. So, with that being said, let's segue to the conference, Revolutionizing Parenthood. You're going to be talking about triggered by your teens.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what can attendees of your workshop hope to get out of the time they spend with you?
Well, I would love those that attended or attend this workshop to leave knowing they could perhaps handle a situation like I handled a few years ago with my son, that they might handle that situation with more grace and ease, and that they might handle that situation with remaining connected with their teen rather than severing the connection, disconnecting, and then losing their capacity to influence. So in the workshop, I'm going to be talking about all the things I did in that situation and all the things I'd done up to that point to lead me to being able to be less reactive. And in that situation, actually completely non-reactive.
Mm-hmm.
So all the things that I think we need to be doing, the skills we need to develop to be able to show up less reactive, that's what you're going to learn in this workshop. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be great. And I'm looking forward to running it with everyone who's there.
I'm looking forward to it too. I'm excited just hearing you talk about it. And I want to remind my listeners, for those of you who cannot join us live at the conference for one reason or another, I certainly hope you can join us. But if you can't, we do have a streaming package where you can get the video recording of Louise's presentation as well as all the other presentations that we're going to have that weekend. So one way or another, you can participate in learning more from Louise, which is really exciting. Yay!
Yeah, it's going to be
So
great.
thank you so much, Louise, for spending this time with me today and talking about how to navigate life with our teens, because it's a tough thing to do, and man, is it worth it. It's
Mm-hmm.
so
Oh,
worth it.
it's totally worth it. And you're not alone.
Not
And,
alone.
I think people do look at us, people in our situation, Erin, and think, gosh, I bet you their kids are perfect. No,
Far
this is
from it.
why I like to share these stories, because they're not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. This actually is a pretty run-of-the-mill normal thing for a teen to do.
Yep, I agree.
And does it impress us? No. Do we wish they didn't? Yeah. But at the end of the day, they're going to do something. And
Exactly.
so we have to know how we are going to handle ourselves in the face of whatever it is they might do. So it's been great to chat, Erin. Love speaking to you on anything and everything. And I hope this is helping and will help many of your listeners.
I think it will. I know it will. So thank you, Louise. That wraps up today's episode. And wherever you are in this world, I hope you make it a very conscious day.